Hello, everybody. Welcome to some more inconsistent Bookworm. And yes, I know that's a cluttered title down there, but I cannot help it. It is the full title. Because, God, these mangas and their titles at times. So let's get into The Hero is Overpowered, but Overly Cautious. Now, this has an anime I do know that has released. I think it's pretty much completed because the manga's not long. I will let y'all know I have the entire manga run so far, which is 3 whole volumes, and of course we're talking about one here. And I will give my opinion on all three because I'm like, fuck it, how bad can it be? And I did this after I read the first volume here. Now, what in the hell is this entirely about? And also, I will let you know if you do want to catch the anime. I believe it's just called "The Cautious Hero" or something like that. Is what they kind of shortened down to, but they put the whole title. So, what this is about is you have this young lady. I'm going to butcher her poor name, Restarte, I believe. I have not watched the anime yet. I bought it and I was like, all right, I'm going to watch this eventually. I told you I've been in like 3,000 different things. But I'm just pronouncing by how it's spelled. She is a goddess, for lack of a better way. She is one with the cosmos, and they are there to save different. They will summon heroes to help save different worlds, and she is assigned pretty much the highest level world that you can try and save. Pretty much, it's boned. It's about to get taken over by a bunch of demons, and she has to summon forth a hero, and she decides to go through these stats of all these different characters to figure out, it's like, okay, well, who do I want to go with? Who should be the hero I decide to choose? And who she decides is this gentleman right here. This is I do know how to pronounce this one. It's called Seiya. I have not pronounced his last name. I can't pronounce that whatsoever. Now, he is overly cautious. That is his whole shtick. But it's actually a little bit funnier than it seems. She summons him up and she explains, like, oh, you have different stats and powers, blah, 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 blah. And she even shows how to be able to bring up stats. And I will show you a character that he ends up, or a demon he has to fight later on, with the great name Chaos Machina. And their stats are pretty much set up like that. They're like a giant RPG, for lack of a better way. Now, these stats determine like how powerful they are and everything, and also how strong they are. And you can see the stats of any particular creature or villain or other characters. It's, for lack of a better way to put it, if you have read or seen any of the pretty much deluge of mangas have been coming out that are based in this thing, like, oh, it's a real world RPG. Ironically enough, there's no one I have that's over there. It's sort of like a real world RPG. Pardon. And it can be kind of silly, but it's to help show it's like the fact that it's like, okay, he's having to deal with, because this is an asteroid world, really powerful forces, but also to show it's where he's really kind of overly cautious. Sorry, just kick the tripod. Now, how overly cautious is this guy? He fucking nukes a fucking slime, just uses a bunch of magic to kill it. It's like, I just need to make sure it's dead. It's sort of like what I unfortunately find myself doing way too often in Pokemon games. Just a fair, quick explanation. I do know that Pokemon games do sometimes require a bit of grinding. I find myself just for like a few hours near like the midway point, about where you start getting to where you need to grind a little. I grind way too much for no reason, and that's what Saya does here. Like, he grinds himself up to like, just because he decided to start working out, because he's like, oh, well, I don't need to leave this thing because you said I can just sit here and I'll just get more, or I could, it's infinite time. She's like, yes, it does move slower. She's just sitting there and she waits like weeks or something. Then he's like, all right, I am 100% ready. And it's funny. the whole idea behind this is meant to be humorous. It's meant to be very comical. It's meant to take the entire idea of this, like the hero gets summoned to a world and has to save said world and wants to turn it on its head and do interesting things with it. And it does. He has to fight this like super powerful demon, and you get to see that one, his overtraining methods pay off. He actually is able to easily outpower a much greater demon. Chaos Machina actually has an power that makes her become a greater demon. Whoa! And he's still stronger. And it takes a, I can't pronounce the name probably, or Restarte. It takes her quite a bit to actually be able to see how truly powerful he is, because he's actually been hiding his stats. And that was one of the things he actually learned how to do. It was kind of funny. And just the exchanges between your two leads, Saya and I'm going to just call her Risty. Sorry. They actually are just, they're adorable. She is just this goofy young goddess who really hasn't had a chance to do much of anything. And she's having to shoulder a bunch of responsibility. He is this overly cautious, nice, psychopathic asshole at times. And they just work off of each other. I just don't know how to describe it. It's goofy in the funnest of ways. And not only that, but the artwork's still actually really good. Unlike where with stuff like, is it wrong to pick up girls in the dungeon? Where I thought that its art style wasn't particularly good, and not only that, but the main characters weren't as compelling as I wanted them to be, and not only that, but it wasn't as comedic as it really wanted to be. This aims mostly for comedy, like 90% of the time. I mean, you can even see like on the back, like her like face they decided to go with is just like, ah. And she does shit like that throughout the entire time, and it works. It just flows so much better together than you would ever hope something like this would. Like, this should just die an unwarranted death because of how kind of silly it gets in bad places. But it's actually fun. It's worth it to watch or read. Sorry, you can sit there and watch it. It's not going to do anything. So, is there a bad thing about this? It's not particularly unique. If that is the biggest problem, and probably the reason why I know that there's not a ton of this out there, it's because this is a been there, done that kind of story. You have read this elsewhere. You have read other things that do this exact same, shtick. Are you going to be blown away and thinking this is one of the best mangas ever? No. But do I think you're going to hate this? No, I think anybody is going to very easily enjoy this. There is a lot of fun to be had throughout this. You're gonna sit there and be like, I'm giggling with all these characters and all the stupid shit they're doing. And sure, I get that the reason why this might be so short is just because there's not a ton of material here. Realistically, it can be stretched pretty fucking thin, just constantly doing this. Like, say, it's like, oh, I'm overly cautious. Like, at the end, like, he uses all this gold that he finally gets and everything to buy way too much stuff and then finds something and he just starts nuking it again. She's like, stop that. It's adorable. It's what I would almost call adorable. So, yeah, I say go check this out. It's worth your time. Especially since right now it's only 3 mangas deep. I think that's as far as it's going. Its first season, it was the whole 13 episodes. Yeah. So I don't think there's going to be more of this. So yeah, go check this out. You're going to love it. If you like that kind of, like, oh, well, this is a person taken out of the real world and put into a RPG world. And if you're willing to accept the fact that it's going to be really silly at times, you'll be able to get beyond some of the dumber kind of elements, for lack of a better way to put it. And at least even then, it kind of makes fun of its own silliness and also it's like, oh, it's RPG stuff, but why is it doing that? That doesn't make sense. I like it. I thoroughly enjoyed so, hey, that's my opinions. Let me know if you were overly cautious and under optimistic about this. But hey, until then, I will see you all later with some more inconsistent bookworm. So until then, bye bye, everybody.